Students, today our topic is about HPLC, high performance liquid chromatography. This is the most important technique used for the separation of large number of complex mixtures like analytes, like carbohydrates, proteins, enzymes, drugs. Mostly it is used in the industrial purpose in the use of drugs. So next, what is the HPLC? HPLC is nothing but a high performance liquid chromatography. The name itself indicates that high performance, that is, in ordinary conventional techniques like other chromatography techniques may be planar or column, when compared to those techniques, it will show the more performance. That's why it is called as high performance liquid chromatography. This is also called as high pressure liquid chromatography. Why high pressure liquid chromatography means in this you are putting a large amount of pressure on the stationary phase for the separation of the compounds. The pressure is created by the pouring the solvent, or it may be the pouring of the sample. In this way, you are putting the high pressure in this chromatography. That's why it is called as high pressure liquid chromatography. And it is also called as high priced liquid chromatography. Means it is the technique in which all the principles of chromatography techniques are involved. The equipment also is somewhat costly. That's why it is called as high priced liquid chromatography. And it is a nothing but a column chromatography technique. It is not a planar chromatography technique. We have differentiated the chromatography techniques into two types. You know that is planar and column. So it is not a planar chromatography technique. It is a column chromatography technique. That is, the separations all takes place in the column chromatography only. And it is also a liquid chromatography. Why we are calling it as a liquid chromatography means the separating solvent and the separating solute all are the liquid type. So that's why we are also called as liquid chromatography. It is the modified form of gas chromatography. Why it is called as modified form of gas chromatography means it is applicable for both volatile as well as non-volatile compounds. That way it is a modified form of gas chromatography. It is mainly divided into two types: normal HPLC, reversed phase HPLC. Now it is clear that normal HPLC and reverse phase HPLC. What are these normal phase HPLC? What is this reverse phase HPLC? I will explain later. It is having a high resolution and separation capacity. As you all know that every technique have its own resolution. If it is having a high resolution, the separation is 100% correct. If it is having less resolution, that is the technique you are operated is in less quality, that is your separation is not in the correct manner. So, but in HPLC you should not get this problem. It will get high resolution. The separation is in clear manner and separation capacity is good. It is used as a qualitative as well as quantitative analysis. As you all know that qualitative means the compound is present or not. Quantitative means amount of the compound. In this way, you can use it for the qualitative as well as quantitative analysis. High performance liquid chromatography is a chromatography technique used to separate a mixture of compounds in analytical chemistry and biochemistry with the purpose of identifying, quantifying, purifying the individual components of the mixture. So in this way, high HPLC is used for separation of large number of compounds that are not separated by our previous techniques. That's why HPLC is the most important technique. Next, by coming to why we use the HPLC, what purpose we are using the HPLC. First one, simultaneous analysis. That is separation, detection, record. Everything is continuous. It's a continuous process which is recorded. So simultaneously all the things are continuously going on. And next one, by coming to that, it is a high resolution. As already I told that the separation is in very clear manner. That's why it is a high resolution technique. Next, by coming to the high sensitivity, that is minute amount of sample also can separated using the HPLC. And high sensitivity with respect to that, it will give a good results based on its high pressure and its compounds that are used in the HPLC. Next, good repeatability. Good repeatability. Good repeatability means that is you can use the HPLC in number of times. So in ordinary conventional technique, if you break the technique, you have to repeat it, which takes large amount of time. But in HPLC, you can repeat it number of times. So it is having good repeatability technique. Moderate analysis condition. That is, the analysis of the sample is very clear. You should not have to make a number of fractions. So in this way, moderate analysis is very easy. Easy to fractionate and purify the compounds, and is a non-destructive technique. So in this way, there are different types of chromatography techniques based on different things. First one, based on modes of chromatography, I have already explained that normal phase mode, reverse phase mode. This is the based on modes of chromatography. Based on principle of separation, first one, absorption principle. As you all know that absorption principle is based on the stationary phase you are going to use. Next, ion exchange chromatography based on charge. Partition chromatography based on the molecule separation between the two immiscible phases. Next, fourth one, size exclusion chromatography based on molecular weight. In this way, based on principle, these are all takes place. Next, based on elution technique, isocratic separation, gradient separation. Isocratic separation means there is a uniform mixture. In gradient separation, there are different gradients are present in the separation stationary phase. Based on scale of operation, that is analytical HPLC or preparative HPLC. Analytical HPLC means you are identifying the unknown compound that is not explained previously. But in case of preparative, you are repeating the technique for your analysis. Based on type of analysis, there are two types: qualitative analysis, quantitative. So as already told that these HPLC is used for both qualitative and quantitative analysis. In this way, it is also used for qualitative and quantitative analysis. Next, by coming to the principle, what is the main principle behind the chromatography techniques? That is, every chromatography having its own principle. Paper chromatography, partition. Thin layer chromatography, absorption. In gel formation, based on size. Ion exchange, based on charge. Affinity chromatography, based on affinity. In this way, HPLC is also having its own principle, and all principles can apply in the HPLC. That's why it is a versatile technique. That's why we are calling HPLC as a versatile technique. Main principles involved in HPLC is based on absorption as well as partition chromatography, depending upon the nature of stationary phase you are using. If the stationary phase is solid, principle is based on absorption chromatography. If the stationary phase is liquid, principle is based on partition chromatography. So HPLC involves both two principles, absorption as well as partition, based on the stationary phase you are going to separate. And it is important for determination of both volatile compounds, non-volatile compounds. Some technique involves separation of only volatile compounds only, some techniques involves only non-volatile compounds. But here we can separate the both volatile as well as non-volatile compounds. It is important for the determination of both qualitative and quantitative analysis. It is important for determination of retention time. This is the most important part. The time required after sample injection, maximum angle peak reaches to the detector. That is, the retention time is very important. The retention time is very less also, and it is less with high resolution. The sample you have uploaded and it reaches to the detector. Next, there are different types of HPLC separations. That already I told that there is a different type, that is normal phase. What is normal phase of HPLC? Separation of polar analytes by partitioning onto a polar bonded stationary phase. It's called as normal HPLC. That is separation of polar analytes, that is polar molecules, by partitioning on a polar bonded stationary phase. If your stationary phase is polar and you are separating molecule is polar, then it is called as normal phase HPLC. Next, by coming to the reverse phase, separation of non-polar analytes by partitioning onto a non-polar bonded stationary phase. So that is called as reverse phase. And absorption. In between normal and reverse phase, separation of moderately polar analytes using the absorption onto the pure stationary phase. That is Moderate samples are present and moderate C-state phases are on which you are going to separate. The principle involved there is absorption, and you are using components are alumina or silica gel. Next, by coming to the ion exchange chromatography. Separation of organic and inorganic ions by their partitioning onto the ion state phase bonded on a solid surface. That is nothing but you are using the principle of ion exchange chromatography, but separation is on the HPLC column. What is difference means? It will have high pressure, high performance, high resolution. All these properties makes the HPLC very versatile technique. Next, by coming to the exclusion, size exclusion chromatography. Separation of large molecules based on the paths they take through. Next, by coming to types of liquid chromatography. There are different types. I already told you types of liquid chromatography. That is normal phase chromatography. The packing material is silica gel. Mobile phase is NHZ. The principle involved is absorption. In the same way, reverse phase chromatography, packing material silica, mobile phase water and withdrawn, and the interaction is hydrophilic. Size exclusion, porous polymer, mobile phase THF, principal interaction is gel permeation. Ion exchange chromatography, packing material ion exchange gel, buffer solution, ion exchange. Affinity chromatography, packing with ligand, buffer solution, and interaction is affinity. In this way, there are different latest equipments of HPLC all over the world, which gives the very marvelous reports. These are the different diagrams involved in the latest HPLC units present at different places. Next, instrumentation of HPLC. What is the main instrumentation that is behind of HPLC, which makes it as a versatile? First one, solvent storage bottle. That is nothing but a solvent storage column. Next, gradient controller and mixing unit. That is how the solvent is going. That is, it should be this ml for this minute, this ml for another minute. So in this way, gradient controller should be for the solvent. That's why gradient controller and mixing unit. Next, degassing of the solvent. During the process, if any gas is formed, which will interrupt the stationary phase and the solid particles to separate. So that's why we have to remove this gas for the degassing of solvents. Next, by coming to the pump, this is nothing but the heart of HPLC. This pump creates the pressure. That pressure, by that pressure only, HPLC gets that much of resolution. That's why heart of HPLC is pump. Next, by coming to the pressure gauge. What pressure you have to know? For example, to separate one type of a molecule, you have to put, for example, little amount of pressure. For other type of molecules, you have to put more amount of pressure. In this way, you have to put the pressure gauge to send that much of pressure into the column. Next, by coming to the pre-column. Pre-column is before going to the main column, there is a pre-column is present. There, the impurities are removed from the sample and the solvent. That's why pre-column is present. Next, sample induction system. How the sample is introduced based on the method you are using. Next, by coming to the main column where the technique whole is takes place. Next, by coming to the detector after separating the molecules at the which is recorded in the detector and finally recorded. Next, this is the main diagrammatic view of the HPLC. That is, these are not the solvent reservoirs, and this is nothing but a pump and the pump dumper. Next, where from it is the drain valve. Next, priming syringe, and the filters are present. Back pressure regulator, pressure transducer. Next, injector valve where you have to send the sample, and this is the main column you are going to separate. And after the separating, you are seeing it in the detector. These are all the whole HPLC instrument. That is pump. How much? This is the main important heart of HPLC. How much solvent, that is from this solvent column, how much solvent should that see that the arrow is going towards the pump. How much solvent is going towards the pump, and the pump will regulate how much pressure it should be going, and it will through the filters it will coming out of it and going to the injection valve from where sample is coming, and the sample and the solvent goes to the column and finally separated and detected at detector and finally recorded. This is the another view of the HPLC column. That is, see that here the solvent mobile phase column. Next, after the solvent mobile phase, there is a solvent, that is pump, from where the solvent is pressurized to the main column, and from another way here sample is coming, and here from the solvent is coming. This both interacted and goes towards the main HPLC column, and finally it is detected at the detector, and finally waste material is coming out of the column and recorded the column. And this is another view, and this is another view of the. There are the different views based on our understanding and based on your easy method. We are showing the different diagrams. By that you will get good understanding about these techniques. Next, this is the outline of the main important latest HPLC technique, that is reservoir tray, auto sampler, column oven, degassing unit, pump unit, low pressure radar. This is the main instrument that is used in the lab. It's not the outline, it's the main instrument in which these are the parts, that is made the SWOT, system controller and UV detector for the detection of your components. Next, this is the main lab diagram of the HPLC system, that is a pic gathered from a lab. So it is having to see that the HPLC solvent reservoirs, solvent delivery system, UV visible detector, polychrome detector, computer workstation, and iodine injector, HPLC color. This is the pic we have gotten from the lab. Next, by coming to the solvent and mobile phase reservoir. What the qualities that the solvent and mobile phase reservoir should have? It should have glass or stainless steel containers capable of holding up to 1 liter mobile phase, minimum 1 liter mobile phase. That should be of a pure organic solvents or aqueous solutions of salts and buffers. It should be taken care. Next, by coming to inert to a variety of aqueous and non-aqueous mobile phase. That is, the container should be stable for the all types of solvent chemical. It should be inert, that is, it may be aquatic or it may be non-aquatic compound. So the glass or stainless steel container should be inert. Stainless steel should be avoided for use with solvents containing halide ions. While using the separation of the halide ions, maximum avoid the stainless steel for the solvent damper. Next, degassing and filtration of the mobile phase. In many cases, aqueous solvents and some organic solvents are degassed prior to the use. By means, the degassing is done to prevent information of gas bubbles in the pump or detector. Mobile phases are degassed by stirring of the mobile phase under vacuum, sonication, and sparing with helium gas. By using these, we are degassing the solvent. Next, by coming to the mobile phase are filtered to remove particulate matter that may clog the system. Next, by coming in the tubing should be inert, having ability to withstand pressure, able to clarify sufficient volume. That is, tubing means the tubes should be stable, withstand the pressure. That is, during from one to another, there are large number of tubes are present. It should be strong. Next, by coming to the pump. As already told you, this is the heart of the HPLC. The solvents or mobile phase must be passed through a column at high pressure up to 6000 pascals or 414 bars. So this is the pressure we are separating the molecule. At this pressure, molecules are going to separate. For this pressure is putting in the ordinary affinity, ordinary ion exchange, ordinary gel formation technique, the stationary form molecules will get rupture. So by means the stationary phase molecule pores are big size. To control and to withstand this much of pressure in HPLC, to get the best resolution, you have to decrease the size of the stationary phase to 5 to 10 micrometers. Then it will resist to the size. As that you are decreasing the size of the stationary phase, which can withstand the pressure of 6000 psi. This is small. That is, smaller the particle size of the stationary phase, greater the resistance to the flow of solvents. I hope you clearly understand. Less is the stationary phase size, you will get the high resistance. Hence, high pressure is recommended. Next, by coming to the requirements for pumps. Generation of pressure about 6000 psi is the main requirement for the pump. Pulse free output, that is the solvent system will flow continuously. It should not be break. That is nothing but the pulse free output, and all materials in the pump should be chemically resistant to solvent. That is, pump should be chemically resistant to any type of solvent you are going to use. Next, flow rates ranging from 0.1 to 10 ml per minute. So, depending upon the separation, we have to use the flow rate. That is, for an exchange chromatography, you have to put 5 to 10 ml per minute. For gel formation, you have to put 2 to 3 ml per minute. In this way, you have different techniques, different flow rates are present. Next, pumps should be capable of taking the solvent from a single reservoir or more than one reservoir containing different solvents simultaneously. That is, all the reservoirs should be placed side by side. That is, one reservoir is completed, another reservoir is ready to pump the solvent. In this way, you have to put the reservoir pumps in by side by side. Next, there are different types of pumps used in HPLC. That is, displacement pumps, reciprocating pumps, and pneumatic pumps. These are all the important pumps. That is, there are in this displacement, in this reciprocating, in the pneumatic pump, there are different pumps. But I will explain one or two pumps to clear the, that is, pump how are they are used. Next, that is HPLC, how pumps they are operated. That is, HPLC pump manner in which they operate. It is divided into two types. One is constant flow rate, that is mechanical pump. It is a constant pressure pump, that is pneumatic type. Constant flow rate mechanical pump is again divided into two types: displacement pump, reciprocating pump. This reciprocating pump is again divided into single piston reciprocating pump, double piston reciprocating pump, and reciprocating diaphragm pump. In the same way, pneumatic also divided into two types: direct pressure pump and amplifier pump. So, they based on its flow rate, based on its stability, different pumps are present here. How they will get the pulseless flow are based on all this, that is automatic one or it may be manual one. All these properties makes the different types of pump. How these pumps will operate, I will explain. That is, first one, displacement pump. It consists of a large syringe-like chamber equipped with a plunger activated as screw-driven mechanism powered by a stepping motor. That is, here the processor is totally a screw-driven mechanism, which is a mechanical one. So it is called a screw-driven syringe type pump. That is manually operated. If it really happens anything, it should not be a automatic. Advantage of this technique is it produces a flow that ends to be independent of viscosity and back pressure. That is, once it is going to run, it will send the flow rate, that is the solvent, it may viscous or non-viscous. Based on that, it will send the continuous flow rate and it will not face the back pressure. That is the main advantage of displacement pump. Next disadvantage is it has a limited solvent capacity, that is 250 ml only. So that's why this is the main drawback, and considerable inconvenience when solvents must be changed. That is, when you are changing the solvent continuously, it should be somewhat distant. That is the displacement advantage and disadvantage. Next, by coming to, then this is the diagram of the displacement pump, how it is operated mechanically. See that there is a piston drive motor, there is a column, that is fast refill motor, manual rewind, driver control, that is mobile phase reservoir. This whole is under the mechanical one. Next, by coming to the reciprocating pump. This pump transmits alternative pressure to the solvent via a flexible diaphragm. That is, it will send alternative pressure. For example, for up to 15 minutes, you have to put 4000 psi. After the 15 minutes, you have to put 6000 psi. This alternative pressure is done in the reciprocating pump, which in turn hydraulically pumped by a reciprocating pump. This is the main advantage. That is, you can control the pressure of the pump. That is the main property of reciprocating pump. What are the disadvantages? Produces a pulsed flow, which is damped because pulses appear as a baseline noise on the chromatograph. That is during separation of the recorded in the detector and recorder, there is a somewhat pulses are present in the chromatograph we have seen. That is the main disadvantage. This can over by use of a dual pump heads or elliptical cams to minimize such pulsations. Next, by coming, this is the diagram of the reciprocating pump. Solvent is pumped back and forth by motor driven piston. This is another view of the reciprocating pump. Solvent is pumped back and forth by a motor driven piston. Two ball check valves which open and close, which controls the flow. This piston is direct contact with the solvent. That is, the piston is direct contact with the solvent. That is, it is sending it is by alternative pressure. Small internal volume 35 to 400 microliters is present. High output pressure up to 10,000 psi. So this is the main important point, that it can give us the pressure up to 10,000 psi. Readily adaptable to gradient dilution and constant flow rate is present, but in some conditions it will make get the pulse flow which can be rectified. Next, by coming to the pneumatic pumps. In these pumps, the mobile phase is driven to a column with the use of pressure produced from a gas cylinder, which is automatically regulated. That's why it is that comes under the pneumatic pumps. It had limited capacity of solvent. Due to solid viscosity, back pressure may develop. That is, some less viscous liquid should we have to use. Due to solid, there may be a problem with the automatic. Being it is automatic, some back pressure may develop. So we have to use the less viscosity solvents. Next, what are the advantages of HPLC? It is simple, rapid, and reproducible. This is a simple technique. Why means principle involved in the stationary phase, all in the most of it is the automatic process, and rapid, takes less time. Reproducible, you can reproduce the technique very easily when compared to the other. High sensitivity, nothing but high resolution. High performance, that is when you are going to separate it in a less time and with a high resolution. These two features are takes place in the HPLC. That's why it is called as high performance. Rapid process, since time saving. It is having a high resolution, separation capacity, accuracy and precision. Stationary phase was chemically inert. Wide varieties of stationary phase. Mobile phase was chemically inert. Less requirement mobile phase in developing chamber. Each recovery of separated component. Easy visualization of separated components. It's having high reproducibility and repeatability. It is an analytical technique important for validation of product quality control studies of a product. It is important for qualitative and quantitative. It is used for both analytical and preparative purpose. As all I have explained before, these all advantages are takes place in the HPLC. Like high performance, high resolution, the stationary phase is very less time, mobile phase is very less quantity usually takes place, and visualization is good reproducibility. All then you can use it for analytical purpose, preparative for analytical, that is unknown samples for preparative purpose, known samples you can separate, and another one you can separate for qualitative and maybe for the quantitative. Most of using the drug control drugs in the industries. Next, by coming to another advantage, have small internal volume of 35 to 400 microliters, higher output pressures up to 10,000 psi, adaptability to gradient dilution, large solvent capacities and constant. These are the another disadvantages of HPLC. Some more advantages than when compared to the advantages we have discussed before. Largely independent of column back pressure and solvent viscosity. Next, we are coming to the several injector devices are available either for manual or auto injection of the sample. As already we have discussed about the pump, which contains manually driven or present and automatic driven or present. Likewise, also here the sample injection also takes place by the manual or it may be automatic. It is divided into different types: septum injector, stop flow injector, and Riordan injector. Based on different properties of that injectors, they are different. For example, the first one, septum injector. These are used for injecting the sample through a rubber septum. Injecting sample through a rubber septum, nothing but a rubber tube. This kind of injectors cannot be commonly used since the septum has to withstand high pressure. That is, during we are using the HPLC with high pressure, this type of septums are not used nowadays. Before previous days, that is HPLC starting design, we are using the septum injectors. Next, we are coming to the stop flow. In this type of flow, mobile phase is stopped for a while and the sample is injected through. That is, during the technique, the mobile phase is stopped for that for some time, then you are injecting the sample. In septum injector, there is no this property, that is some mobile phase is stopped and it sample is injected. It is the continuously flowing in the tube, then only you have to add the sample. Sometimes the sample may damage. So that's why the stop flow is most important injector. Next, third one, Rheodyne injector. It is most popular injector and widely used. It has fixed volume of loop. That is the sample injector, that is sample you are giving in that is fixed volume. That is loop, it will take fixed volume for holding sample until it is injected into the columns like 20 microliter, 50 microliters or more. So an injector sample is introduced into the column. The injector is positioned just before the inlet of this column. That is, the sample injector is present just before the column. These are the HPLC diagrams, how the selection of walls are present. That is, wall for selected for analytical or it may preparative process. How you load the position of the sample loop. That is, for that there is another wall is present. For the sample injection, there is another wall is being this way. Based on the operation we are using, the walls are regulated. This is the image obtained from the lab of the HPLC equipment. HPLC auto injectors are different. These are the different images of auto injectors. Next, main property about the column and pre-column. That is pre-column. It contains a packaging chemically identical to the analytical. It contains a packing chemically identical to the analytical column. That is mostly for the analytical purpose. Pre-column is most important one. Mainly used to remove the impurities from the solvent. Mainly for the remove the impurities from the solvent. Thus prevents contamination of the analytical column. It can protect analytical column. That is, most of the analytical techniques compulsory contains the pre-column. It is also called as guard column or protective column. It is having large particle size. It can give the large particle size. It is having short length of 20 to 10 centimeter, so does not affect the separation. Next, by coming to the analytical column. The success or failure of analysis depends upon the choice of column. That is based on the technique, based on the principle, based on the sample you are going to separate. The column selection is most important. Based on this only your technique is success or it may be a failure can analyze. Actual separation is carried out here only. Stainless steel tube, size length from 25 to 100 centimeters. Internal diameter is 2 to 4.6 millimeters. Column is filled with the small particles 5 to 10 microns. The solid support can be silica gel or aluminum is used in the column. The separation is result of a different components adhering to the diffusion into the packaging materials and the mobile phase is forced through the column. Next, by coming to the detectors. There are different detectors are present. For absorbance detectors, UV visible and PDA. Refractive index detects the change in the turbidity. Based on the turbidity change, you can detect the what type of sample is in. Next, fluorescence. The analyte is fluorescent. Electrochemical measures current flowing through a pair of electrodes on which our potential difference is recorded. Next, conductivity of the ions. That is the separating molecule having any conductivity, you can detect. Next, light scattering. It is having any phosphorescence or it may be chemiluminescence phenomenon, you can detect it. Mass spectrophotometry, HPLC, MS also one of the type of detector which is used in the analytical purpose. Next, there are different selection of detectors based on the compounds you are going to detect. U visible for the compounds are separating the aromatic rings, multiple alternating double bonds. Next, RF for the fluorescent component, CDD for the charged component, that is organic acids, ECD for the oxidizing compounds like phenols and amines, RID and ELST for compounds that do not show characteristics visible by the other detectors, example polymers and saccharides. These are the different types of HPLC detectors. Next, what are the ideal detector properties should be present? It should be highly sensitive. During the separation. It should be universal predictable specificity. Large linear response range should be have. Low dead volume, and it also a non-destructive. Next, we are coming to insensitive to the temperature and mobile phase. This is the most important one. Next, continuous operation should be takes place. Reliable and easy to use. No single detector fits all these criteria. These are the applications of the HPLC. That is, it is mainly used for the drug discovery, clinical analysis, proteomics, forensic chemistry, drug metabolism study, environmental chemistry, diagnostic studies, cosmetic analysis, determination of green fluorescent protein, structural determination, pharmaceutical applications, qualitative and quantitative analysis, therapeutic drug monitoring. That is, all the principles are involved in the HPLC. Based on all the principles involved, they are separating all these components, that is, from the clinical point to the drug. Every molecule, that may be biomolecule, or it may be chemical molecule, or it may be ion, or it may be acid, everything we are going to separate in the HPLC. Thank you.
Absolutely.